How can you frighten a man whose hunger is not only in his own cramped stomach, but in the wretched bellies of his children? That question runs like an undercurrent through John Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath, a novel that put a human face on the Great Depression, and earned as much outrage as it did praise. Published in 1939, the book follows the Joad family, tenant farmers from Oklahoma forced off their land during the Dust Bowl years. The soil has turned to dust, crops have failed, and banks, cold and impersonal, repossess land that had been in families for generations. With little choice, the Joads load up their battered truck and head west to California, chasing handbills that promise plenty of work. At the heart of the story is Tom Joad, recently released from prison after serving time for killing a man in self-defense. He returns home to find the farm abandoned, his family on the move. Along with his parents, siblings, and the ex-preacher Jim Casey, Tom joins the migration along Route 66, part of a massive exodus of Okies looking for a better life. The journey is grueling. Along the road, the Joads meet other families who tell them the truth: California isn't the promised land they've been told about. Jobs are scarce, wages are low, and resentment toward migrants is fierce. Still, they push forward, because going back is impossible. When they arrive, the reality hits hard. The Joads find themselves living in makeshift camps, competing for backbreaking work that pays barely enough to buy food. Local authorities harass the migrants, and big landowners use their desperation to keep wages pitifully low. The contrast between the lush farmland of California and the hunger of the people working it is stark and infuriating. Steinbeck doesn't shy away from the hardship. Children go hungry. People die on the road. Families are torn apart. But the novel also glimmers with moments of dignity and solidarity. The government-run Weed Patch Camp, modeled on real New Deal resettlement administration camps, offers migrants safety and self-governance, showing what compassion and organization can do. Tom's transformation is at the heart of the book. Influenced by Casey's philosophy that maybe all men got one big soul, Tom begins to see the struggle as bigger than his own family. After Casey is killed during a labor strike, Tom takes up his cause, vowing to fight for justice wherever he can. In one of the novel's most famous passages, he tells his mother, "I'll be everywhere, wherever you can look. Wherever there's a fight so hungry people can eat, I'll be there." The novel ends not with a victory, but with a haunting act of humanity. After the Joads take shelter from a flood in a barn, they find a starving man too weak to eat solid food. Rose of Sharon, who has just lost her own baby, breastfeeds the man, offering the only nourishment she can. It's a shocking and tender image, a final statement on survival, compassion, and the bonds that keep people alive in the bleakest times. When The Grapes of Wrath was first published, it was both celebrated and condemned. It won the Pulitzer Prize in 1940 and was praised for giving voice to the voiceless. But it was also banned, burned, and denounced as communist propaganda by politicians, business leaders, and landowners who saw it as an attack on capitalism. In Kern County, California, the very region where the novel is set, officials banned the book and even staged public burnings. The controversy wasn't just about politics, it was about exposure. Steinbeck had held up a mirror to a system that thrived on exploitation, and many didn't like what they saw. The migrants in his book weren't lazy or undeserving, they were hard-working people crushed by forces beyond their control. That truth was, and still is, uncomfortable. Why it still matters today? Because economic displacement, worker exploitation, and mass migration are not relics of the 1930s. Whether it's farm workers in modern agriculture, gig workers in unstable jobs, or families fleeing climate disasters, the story of the Joads echoes loudly. Steinbeck's novel reminds us that dignity isn't charity, it's justice. And justice depends on seeing the humanity in those whose struggles might otherwise stay invisible. In the end, The Grapes of Wrath is as much a call to conscience as it is a work of fiction. It asks, if you saw the hunger, the injustice, the human cost up close, what would you do? And maybe more importantly, what's stopping you from doing it now?